Welcome. This is part 2 from where we left off last time, and the topic is secret societies and the New World Order and the Bible. This particular part goes deeper into the history of these societies, and we'll explore exactly what these ancient mystery religions are. Then next week we'll look into how this exists in current times. So, as we've explained before, we are Bible-believing Christians, and we always start with a prayer, so it's up to you whether you join in, but I'm going to begin with one now. Dear Heavenly Father, before I present today, please bless me with your Spirit, so that what I present is in line with your word. Please bless the people who are here and who are watching online, so that they can take this information and study it further themselves. This is an important topic, Father, and I pray that you do this. In Jesus' name, I pray for this. Okay. So this is a review of what we covered last week. We looked into what a secret society is, so that was a dictionary definition. We also looked into the New World Order, which is a term that's out there quite a bit, and we looked at what Wikipedia had to say, and then we did some more investigation. We looked at if they do exist today, if it was real or just a myth. We then turned to the Bible to see what the Bible had to say, because we came to the conclusion that these ancient mystery religion and these secret societies were in fact Luciferian based. So we had a look at what this meant in the Bible, and then we finally came to the conclusion of what the real agenda was. So we saw there were 3 main outlets, which was economical, political and religious. And then we looked at the Committee of 300, which is also known as the Illuminati, as exposed by Dr. Coleman, who we mentioned last week. So I just picked out some of the points that we went through at the end in the conclusion, and this is the review of what the agenda really is. And it was to establish a one world government under the UN, to remove liberty and to enforce laws. It was to establish a monetary system to control the people and benefit the occult false god worship system. It was to engineer and destroy true religious worship of the God of the Bible through deception, false religions, infiltration, among many other tactics. So the basic goal was to unite all religions as one. It was to control the people through mind control, which was the media, music, television, entertainment, medicine, food, education, drugs, etc. And to engineer wars, starvation, diseases, moral decline in society, mass unemployment, shortage in commodities, false terrorism, and crisis after crisis, etc. So, it's always important to go over these again, as these are the avenues that we need to be taking notice of in our lives if we want to grow and seek truth. So, the people that are calling for the New World Order at the top of the scale understand the mission they have and are partakers in the system that was formed from the ancient mystery religions to bring about Satan's plan of destruction. The majority below them have no clue what is going on and are indirectly involved. So we looked through the system, and it was a pyramid. And these are the main areas that we went through. So it's monetary, political, economic, religious, secret services, scientific organizations, entertainment, media, medical, education, military, cultural, criminal, judicial, technology and industrial. That pretty much covers everything. So these are just some of the objectives from the New World Order which originate from Satan and his master plan against the human race. Now, for all to worship Satan directly or indirectly, and to partake in evil activities through atheism, communism, false religion and worship. We also looked at this diagram here, And this one was tracing it from the ancient mystery religions to what we see today. So it leads to the New Age movement, but you can see these other ones in between. We've got Kabbalism, Gnosticism, Knights Templars, Rosicrucians, and then you can see what's involved in them. And like we said, it's all the occult practices. So this is just something for you to look at yourself and study all the areas. So today we're going to look more into that. So we're going to look into the ancient mystery religions, we're going to look into Kabbalism and Gnosticism. You see the first sign there, that is the Gnostic symbol. And then we're going to look into the secret societies, the Knights Templar, Rosicrucians, Freemasons and the Jesuit order. That's the sign of the Freemasons there. Now, there are more, but I'm just going to cover the main ones because it's hard to put this into such a short presentation. But once again, it's very concise and it's up to you to take this information away and look. So, I'm going to start today with a clip. There are going to be a few clips throughout. They're only short, but it kind of backs up what we went through last week, and it will also add on to what we're looking today. So, I'm just going to start with one here.
What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order. Out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, a new world order, can...
After 1989, President Bush said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order, and instead it looks like we've got a lot of disorder.
There is a chance for the President of the United States to use this disaster to carry out what his father, a phrase his father used, I think, only once, and it hasn't been used since, and that is a new world order. This was a stirring address, in my view, shorter than his father's speech when he announced the New World Order.
It's only now that we can begin to understand that the world order that globalization brings and what it's going to look like, it's driven forward now not just by the balance of military strength, the Cold War times, or ordinary political power. It's being driven forward by a seismic shift in economic power that we see around us.
We've got to give them a stake in creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see.
Thousands of people gathered to hear Barack Obama deliver a key foreign policy speech on his current European tour. Democratic presidential hopeful laid out his vision for America's place in a new world order, saying he was speaking as a proud citizen of the United States and a fellow citizen of the world.
Pat Robertson has written in a book a few years ago that we should have a world government, but only when the Messiah arrives. He wrote that literally, any attempt to achieve world order before that time must be the work of the devil. Well, join me. I'm glad to sit here at the right hand of Satan.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. Government at all levels must meet its obligation to provide you with the fullest possible information outside the narrowest limits of national security. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
Okay, so as you can see from those clips, those are some of the well-known politicians there, all talking about the same agenda. That speech by John F. Kennedy was actually shortly before he was killed, so you can see that he was revealing a lot of what was going on behind the scenes. And the way he was killed will be covered in a separate presentation. The fact that he was killed in front of people on a mass global scale, that is also part of the agenda. But just to follow on with another quote. So this is the President John Quincy Adams. I saw a code of Masonic legislation adapted to prostrate every principle of equal justice and to corrupt every sentiment of virtuous feeling in the soul of him who bound his allegiance to it. I saw the practice of common honesty, the kindness of Christian benevolence, even the abstinence of atrocious crimes, limited exclusively by the lawless oaths and barbarous penalties to the social relations between the brotherhood and the craft. I saw slander organized into a secret, widespread and affiliated agency. I saw self-invoked imprecations of throats cut from ear to ear, of hearts and vital torn out and cast off and hung on spires. I saw wine drunk from a human skull, with solemn invocation of all the sins of its owner upon the head of him who drank it. So this is just one of the explanations of what can go on in these secret societies and what's involved in the initiations. And it's similar to what goes on when people go to universities and join certain societies there. Another one, this is Jack Straw, so this is more close to home for us in England. He was the Home Secretary at that time. Membership of secret societies such as Freemasonry can raise suspicions of a lack of impartiality or objectivity. It is therefore important the public know the facts. I think it is the case that the Freemasons said that they are not a secret society, but a society with secrets. I think it's widely accepted that one secret they should not be keeping is who their members are in the criminal justice system. So this is a topic that is highly illustrated among these people, but it's hidden away, so a lot of people can't see it, with all the distractions going on around us. So, to go back to those topics, we should start with Kabbalism. So, the Kabbalah, it's a branch of Jewish mysticism, which is thought to have originated from the Jewish Israelites' worship of occult gods, and is the total opposite of the Jewish religion. Its teachings come from an ancient 23-volume book called the Zohar, there it is there, which offers interpretations of the inner meaning of the Torah. The belief system is directly opposite to what God teaches in the books of Moses, the Torah and Old Testament, and God warns us about how these false teachings and gods. Now traditionally its practice were reserved for a select number of Jewish scholars, who already had to be advanced in understanding of the Jewish law. But over the past few hundred years, it's been followed more widely. Now, that book we're talking about is the Zohar. It's described as spell oils and incense blends produced according to the Kabbalah. Now, virtually all occult philosophers and magicians and magicians of note had a working knowledge of some aspect of the Kabbalah. Some groups that currently practice the Kabbalah are the Hermetics, the Gnostics, the Knights Templar, the Neoplatonists, the Pythagoreanists, the Rosicrucianists, the Tantra, the English Order of the Golden Dawn, and the French magician Eliphas Levi. Some Kabbalists actually practice ritual magic, names of power, the magic circle, ritual implements, consecration, and the evocation of spirits, etc. So this is very much occult knowledge. You can see that image there, that is the Kabbalah Tree of Life. So that's taken from the book of Genesis, and it is a system which they use to invoke spirits. And you see the item of jewelry in the middle, and it's red. So you would have noticed that there are quite a lot of celebrities nowadays, and there was a phase where people were following it and wearing red bracelet. So you can see the picture here. That's Madonna wearing the t-shirt, promoting it. And then you've got Mick Jagger. Also other ones like Demi Moore, Paris Hilton, Ivana Trump, Britney Spears. They've all gone through this phase of wearing it. So, you know, everyone just thought it was just, you know, some kind of jewelry. But when you look at what knowledge these celebrities have, you will see that there is a lot more to it. And this is where they get their power from that lasts for so long, and why they are managing to keep their celebrity status for that amount of time. So there's another clip here, and this is a clip of Madonna, and she's revealing how she actually got into it. And then there's an interesting introduction to a concert that she did. So just watch and observe.
A girlfriend of mine used to going all the time and to these classes. They're classes. It's a Kabbalah Learning Center. And basically the Kabbalah is the mystical interpretation of the New Testament. And she kept telling me about this really charismatic rabbi named Eitan who's told these great stories, and she kept going on and on about it, and you know, and I said, listen, I'm not even Jewish, why are you telling me these things? You know, she's like, you don't have to be Jewish, just come and take, you know, study it. If you like it, well, you like it. If you don't, leave. So I did. Those of you who have heard people say all the deep things of speech, I know your words, but I have this against you. And the soul is rising up to see the 10 wings and 7 heavens, and it rests on the sleeping on his head. The beast that has souls like lead, speak like waves, and his mouth is like a lion's mouth. The jewels brigade of his power. And the whole earth followed the beast with wonder. And they worship the beast, saying, who is like the beast, and who can fight against the beast? They opened his mouth to utter blasphemous words against God.
So you can see there, Madonna is quoting the book of Revelation. It's quite funny because 2 years ago I would have looked at this and I probably wouldn't have noticed the thing. I would have thought it's just a show, and that is the general census of what people think. They think it's just an elaborate show. But when you see what is being put in front of our face and what their reasoning is behind it, it's quite shocking. I mean, it was shocking for me, and I guess it's shocking to anyone who's on this journey. There's another clip I'm not going to show you, but Madonna talks to the interviewer, and she's confirming that there is another world around us, and there are spirits around us. And I even looked at the comments of this video, and people were just laughing at it, thinking that it's just a crazy woman. But don't forget, this is a woman with a lot of power in the world right now. So moving on, Gnosticism. So you can see there, these are the symbols involved in Gnosticism. It says salvation through hidden occult knowledge for the select few. So, where you have Gnosticism, is salvation through knowledge, whereas Christianity is salvation through Christ. And Gnosticism goes hand in hand with the Kabbalah, which is the esoteric and mystery religion of Judaism, like we said. These occult teachings deal with magic, hypnotism, sorcery, and all sorts of pagan practices collected by the Jews throughout the century of spiritual borrowing through different cultures. The mixing of all these pagan traditions with the teachings of the gospel of Christ gave birth to a whole new kind of Gnostic religion. So, in essence, it's a form of spiritual perversion. Its main teaching is to focus on self, and that's self-salvation through secret knowledge only. Now, Gnosticism comes from the mixing of the ancient teachings of the Kabbalah and mixed with the teachings of Christianity. And the end result of this mixture is a systematic distortion of the teachings of Jesus in the Bible. So they tend to twist the story. And Gnostics will say that the God of this world is the evil God. And that's when they talk about Yahweh, and they describe that as the evil God. And they'll say that the correct God is from a different world and is watching over this world. And you see how they twist it, and they twist the story of the Garden of Eden as well. So here's a quote here. Gnosticism, just like the ancient mysteries, was founded on Spiritism, their mediums given instructions purporting to come from the gods or spirits. So we did do a presentation on the occult, explaining how a lot of this knowledge comes about. It's usually from occult methods, and that is through the invocation of spirits. And when you see that that is a common theme, you tend to think, where is this information coming from? And why is it all such different information? Why is it not in unison? There are some big films which have had very Gnostic themes to it. People might not see it. People might have actually thought that these were Christian films when they first came out. Films like The Matrix. You'll be surprised that the Christian response to it when it came out. And then you'll see a lot of the Gnostic references within. Because it's so similar but with a twist, some people can't see the difference. Other films like The Truman Show and Star Wars also have this displayed in there. But we'll look into that in another presentation. So, the Knights Templar, this was the first official secret society. Now, it's a powerful, rich military order. It was tax exempt. It was protected by the Pope. It was highly favoured. It was involved in all types of Satanism, which included sodomy and sexual orgies and worship. It had close links with Kabbalistic teachings, as they all have, and it was known to hold secret knowledge, and it was to spend a lot of time there, was in the Middle East. Now, they were known for the worship of the Baphomet, which is a satanic god, which many of today's secret societies seem to worship too. And you will also see this image of the Baphomet here on the right, and it pops up in a lot of current music videos. Now, they built up their fortune from protecting pilgrims on their journeys to Israel, and they also gained much land, castles, privileges and connections in the nobility, and could be recognised as the first banking elite. Now, Jacques de Molay, the Grand Master, was burnt at the stake in 1314, and King Philip IV from France gained permission from the Pope to abolish Knights Templar for Satanism and blasphemy. Many fled to Scotland and other countries and went underground, and that were the pioneers for Freemasonry and other secret societies. Now, going back to that same documentary, which I've got these clips on, there's another one here, just explaining, only for a couple of minutes, in further detail about this secret society.
Knights Templar became extremely wealthy and powerful. The Knights Templar degenerated to the point where they practiced idolatry, sex rituals, and worshipped Satan in the form of the Baphomet. In fact, sodomy became a rite of initiation into the order. Unfortunately, those practices are being carried on today.
And if Washington doesn't have enough to talk about these days, the Washington Times reported today that unidentified White House aides in the Carter, Reagan, and Bush administrations now are being investigated for using the services of a call boy ring. The paper reports that 2 of the male prostitutes were given a late-night tour of the White House last year. The White House press secretary, Marlin Fitzwater, said he knew nothing of this investigation. BC's Lisa Myers reports her sources in the U.S. Attorney's Office say the investigation is not focusing on prostitution, but on fraud involving the use of credit cards to pay for the call boy services.
So you can see some of these stories are right in our face, and they're actually verifying what has been going on behind the scenes for years. But people don't tend to see the links. So, Rosicrucianism, which is the order of the Red Cross, this emerged as a religious order, and it combined the ancient mystery religions with Christianity, and it took the Knights Templar's place and became the main occult teaching area. Now, Rosicrucians merged with Freemasonry initially, doing good work as they do today. Because don't forget, if you ask someone today about a Freemason, they will say they're generally good people, because that is the case at the lower level. But there is an elite knowledge among the higher ranking Freemasons that understand these occult teachings, which we went into last time. So you can see their symbols here. You can see the all-seeing eye. And Freemasonry is a branch of the Knights Templars crafts, and it continued after they fled from the King of France and the Catholic Pope. They were first recognised as an order in Scotland under King Robert the Bruce, who didn't recognise the authority of the Pope. They formed the oldest branch of Freemasonry, the Scottish Rite, in the 18th century, although Freemasonry was much older and didn't come into prominence until then. They had a massive growth worldwide, and they have many orders and rites which they are not subservient to each other. From mystery religions, Kabbalism to Gnosticism, they are involved in all different types of occultism. So I don't know if this is clear, this diagram, but this shows the Masonic structure and the 33 degrees involved in Scottish Rite Freemasonry. So I think you might have to look at that at home in more detail. I don't think it's very clear, but it shows once again the pyramid shape and the fact that the global elite are at the top. So the majority of people will be down in the lower area and they won't know much. But once you climb the degrees and you get initiated and you go further up, more knowledge comes with it, and you believe at a point that you have the knowledge of what they are. But then it gets up to that top point, and that is where we covered last time that it is very much about occult worship. So you can see here the pyramid again, the pyramid shape of manipulation, and you can see what areas are covered, everything we covered last time: banking, business, military, politics, education, media, religion, intelligence agencies, drug companies, illegal drugs. Now it's funny how most of our presentations are actually around these areas anyway, so this is what they're infiltrating, and it affects us in everyday life. So, this is the Jesuit order. So for those who haven't heard of it, people have most probably heard of what a Jesuit priest is. And that was from the Catholic Church. You can see the logo on the left, IHS. That's a very much occult logo. That stands for Isis, Horus and Set, which are some of the deities of ancient Egypt. Now, so the Reformation, Protestantism, was Christians in the 16th century. And they began to understand and teach truth in huge numbers and study the Bible to find truth that exposed the Catholic religious system, which has blocked the masses and kept much truth in the dark. The Catholic system was under serious threat, and at the Council of Trent they supported the founder Ignatius Loyola, which was a member of the Lambrado, which was the early Illuminati, to create a military order society of Jesus, which is the Jesuits, in 1540. To fight this uprising of truth, to keep the masses away from true Christianity and destruction to the Catholic system. The orders grew very quickly and went worldwide. They built universities, theology schools, and they infiltrated all governments, commerce, religions, secret services, mainly as they could keep full control of world affairs. So they were everywhere, and that still goes on today. these guys founded the Illuminati and Freemasonry, and they control all other independent secret societies. And they are at the top of the pyramid in terms of control and influence to further the Catholic system. And we'll go more into depth about that again at a later date. Now, you'll find within all these conspiracy theories, and what you see, with the New Age movement and in the news, and people talk about conspiracies, that it rarely goes to this level. You tend to see them keep it at a certain level, and that doesn't provide people with that link, so they can link it to religion and to the Bible. And you will see that is generally creating a sense of tension and negativity in people's minds, because they are dwelling on these conspiracies. I mean, when I present these, I urge you not to concentrate too much on these conspiracies. It's good to know them, but if you do start to dwell on them, that is what they are actually put out there for and created for, because it will create that state in your mind where you're constantly, worried about things, and this is the opposite of the real message from the Bible. So it's good to have the information when people come up to you and talk to you about it, but beware of what path it might lead you down, because you will see a lot of the conspiracy theorists out there and what they are teaching. But once again, if you test it against the Word, you will see. So they have a general in command, which is the Black Pope Adolfo Nicholas, and he is the true head of the Catholic Church. Now, not many people would have seen this guy. He's not the one you see on TV. So there is a different order going on behind the scenes. Now, they are very smart and well-disciplined people, and the specially chosen members number in the thousands worldwide, and they do the bidding of Rome in every country, in every religion. They are there, manipulating for the best outcome. Now, this following video, which is the last clip, just describes the Jesuit oath. So it's spoken to us, and it's also written on the screen. Now, just take careful note of this and see if you can connect the dots.
I now, in the presence of Almighty God and you, my bosom Father, the Superior General of the Society of Jesus, founded by St. Ignatius the Loyola, due by the womb of the Virgin, and the matrix of God, and the rod of Jesus Christ, declare and swear that His Holiness the Pope is Christ believed in, and is the true and only head of the Catholic or Universal Church throughout the earth. Therefore, to the utmost of my power, I shall and will defend this doctrine and its holiness right and custom against all usurpers of the heretical or Protestant authority, and all adherents in regards that they be usurped and heretical opposing the sacred Mother Church of Rome. I do further promise and declare that notwithstanding I am dispensed with to assume any religion heretical for the propagating of the Mother Church's interest, I do further promise and declare that I will have no opinion or will of my own, or any mental reservation whatsoever, even as a corpse, but will unhesitatingly obey each and every command that I may receive from my superiors in the militia of the Pope and of Jesus Christ. I furthermore promise and declare that I will wage relentless war, secretly or openly, against all heretics, Protestants, and liberals, to extirpate and exterminate them from the face of the whole earth, and that I will hang, burn, waste, boil, and flay, and strangle and bury alive these infamous heretics, rip up the stomachs of the wombs of their women, and crush their infant heads against the walls, in order to annihilate forever their execrable race.
much speaks for itself. You can see that that is the real oath. Some of it may sound ridiculous to some, but that is the oath that he's taken. So I think a further study about Jesuits, you know, the study can go on for so long, but this is one for you to take away and have a look. Most people don't connect the dots in regards to them when it comes to conspiracy, so I urge you to look into this. So I'm just going to finish off with a recap of the Hegelian dialect, which we mentioned last week, and this just describes how the societies operate today. So it's just something to keep an eye out for, and you will know the pattern when you see these secret societies and how they operate. Because if you look at all the wars and if you look at all these events like 9/11, they do follow this same dialect. And this is George Hegel. He's a lot of people study this individual in universities. He's a highly regarded individual. And I know I said that was the last clip, but this is the final one, and then this will bring this presentation to an end.
Georg Hegel was a German philosopher who came up with a basic system for achieving the goals of the Illuminati called the Hegelian dialectic. This system is based on 3 steps. In step 1, a rogue government will create the problem that harms or even kills its own citizens. This deception is known as a false flag attack. In step 2, a rogue government will control the reaction to the problem which it created by typically blaming it on an enemy or some aspect of its own society over which it seeks more control. This is why the term false flag attack is so named. In step 3, a rogue government will offer the solution to the problem which it created. This solution is typically a war or a system of regulations. The solution would usually not be accepted by the public had the rogue government not created the crisis and controlled the reaction to it in the first place. A government which seeks increasing control can keep pushing society to accept its agenda by following a series of problems, reactions, and solutions which it planned all along. The significance of the Hegelian dialectic is not how evil it is, but rather how often governments choose to follow it. There has not been a major war in the 20th and 21st centuries that does not follow the Hegelian dialect.
So those clips were from a documentary which I recommend you do watch. It's on YouTube. It's free. It's New World Order and Bible Prophecy. It's from a Christian researcher, and he did used to study history, and he started to link it with the Bible. Now this information is kind of rare out there, but the way he puts it together, it will cover most of the topics I have spoken about today and go into more detail. I think it's about 2 hours long. So that brings this part to a conclusion. Next week we'll continue and look at how these societies have progressed and how they operate today. Thank you and God bless.